Avoiding the dreaded no-no, but still losing 100 games. This is Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, you're Locked On A's, and I'm Wayne Coy, lifelong Oakland Athletics supporter and media personality, and just want to take the time before we do anything else to apologize for being so late today. We had a death in the family yesterday, so pretty much sucked up the entire day, but hey, the day is still happening, so we're here every day, we promise, you know. So you want to be an everydayer, do you? Well, all you got to do is show up just like we did, and then, of course, leave your comments down in the comment section just so we can know that you're here. That would be nice to know that you're part of the party. Of course, if you're on YouTube, you can do that. It's right below us here. Leave a comment in the comment section. Also, if you got ideas for the show, if there's stuff that you'd like to make sure that we cover and it relates to the A's, go ahead and leave it there and we'll definitely pay attention. We get right back to you. Talking A's baseball, that's what we do. I know that's what you want to do, so let's get right into it. Thanks, of course, for making Locked On A's, your first choice every single day. Wherever you get your podcast, that's where we are. We're also on YouTube, which we just talked about. And of course, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That's worldwide, you know. Everywhere you go, we go. And every day, it's your team every single day. And today, the show is brought to you by Jace Medical. You can save more than $300 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical. Plus, you can get an additional $20 off by using the code LOCKEDON when you check out. It's all at Jace, J-A-S-E, medical.com. So make sure you check them out. They are new friends of the show. So we had a plan, right? And here was the plan. The plan was to have a winning road trip. The plan was to sweep the defending World Series champions in their stadium and just get all cocky and come home feeling good as we take on the Padres. Well, that didn't happen. We ran into a buzzsaw called the Astros yesterday. You know, you can't keep a good team down forever, right? Well, that's what happened yesterday. Not only did we lose, but we almost got no hit. A no-no broken up by Ryan Noda. How did we get there? Well, Paul Blackburn was the starting pitcher. And, you know, if you've been following Paul this year, you know that the issue for him has been the first inning. Just being able to get out of that, it's been trouble. Trouble. Got to get out of the first without letting them score any runs. And they did. Paul Blackburn, great first inning. The issue really was, it was the third inning. That's where the trouble happened. Instead of the first, it was indeed the third. And how did he do it? Well, he started off by walking Jose Altuve, never a good idea. And then Jeremy Pena, definitely not a good idea. So now you got a couple of walks. Of course, that's followed up by back-to-back Jimmy Jacks. You got Yordan Alvarez, you got Alex Bregman, and you got a 4-0 lead for the Astros. Oh, well, it was good while it lasted. Hunter Brown, Rafael Montero, Hector Neris, Brian Abreu, and Ryan Presley. Collectively, members of the Houston Astros pitching staff, of course, but they're also the same 5 guys that pitched yesterday and threw 9 innings, 1 out in the 9th, a no-hitter. Then what happened? Well, Tony Kemp started the 9th inning by grounding out, so they're 2 outs away from the no-no. Zach Geloff. It's that guy, Zach. He draws a walk, and then Ryan Noda with the single. Somebody on YouTube had a great line. It was let me make sure I get it right. Noda. That's his new nickname. He broke it up, said that'll be enough of that. So the no-hitter went away with 1 out in the 9th inning. Seth Brown then with a single. He drives in Geloff. Shea Langoliers with a sac fly, scoring Noda, and 6-2 is the score. And unfortunately, that's the final. That's as close as Oakland was going to get. No sweep of the world champs in their park, but listen, gave it the effort, right? I mean, won the first two. I don't think anybody saw that happening. So you got to be happy with a 500 road trip, especially with the way this year has gone. You take your victories where you can get them. That's what I'm telling you. You just say, all right, we're going to go on the road and we're going to play 500 baseball. That might seem like, yeah, that's not hard to do. This year, the wins have been hard to come by. So, of course, you're going to take them wherever you can get them, right? This show is brought to you today by our friends at eBay Motors. What can I tell you about them? It's, of course, passion and drive and patience. They have all of that going on at eBay Motors. And what brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. It's eBay Motors with everything that you need to maintain your vehicle, to keep it up, to level it up, if you will, to peak performance from superchargers and roof racks and exhaust kits and LED headlights. They got it all. So whether you're into speed or you like that power or maybe style, that's kind of the way I roll. eBay Motors has got you covered. They've got the parts for sure, 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. And you're always going to be able to find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, this is really the big difference. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time, or your money back. That's a guarantee. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts that you need at the prices that you want, well, I think it's pretty easy then to turn your car into that MVP that you knew it was and bring home the win. The baseball analogies just won't stop. Keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Sorry, eligible items only, and exclusions do apply. Well, we're going to talk about moving and the possibility of the Oakland A's becoming the Las Vegas A's. It's something that we have to talk about. It's like that thing that won't go away, right? Especially if you live where I live, because we've got a local newspaper that seems to be sort of at the beck and call of the A's and the front office and their organization. Mick Akers is the name of the guy who's the columnist and reporter, I guess, for the Journal. And come to expect pretty much anything that he writes is going to be a puff piece, and it's going to be favorable to the A's. And really no exception with the news story, which is all about the Major League Baseball owners getting together to vote on the A's relocation to Vegas. That's really all that stands between where we are right now and getting shovels in the dirt in Vegas. Of course, they have now announced when they're going to do that. And that's what the story is pretty much breaking for us, which is that they're going to be getting together. The owners are in November like they always do. And when they do, that's when they'll have their vote. The A's apparently have submitted their relocation paperwork, and they did that back in August, which I thought was pretty darn quick, despite the fact that they had no renderings whatsoever, except for the ones that did with AI. Remember those that were part of that whole thing back in front of all the legislators? And then they said, oh, by the way, those renderings really didn't mean anything. You can just rip those up. Unbelievable. So they have no renderings, they have no design, they have no architect. They have no budget, they have no financial plan. They've got 9 acres, not 25 acres, and they want a retractable roof, and I dare you to find me one that sits on 9 acres, because you won't. So what are they going to do there? And they don't have any place to play. They got a lease in Oakland that expires at the end of 2024, but even though they've turned in their plan, they haven't said where they're going to play. So with all of that in mind, all those things they don't have, is the one thing they will have a vote that says, yeah, sure, come to Vegas. Remember what David Sampson said? I don't know if you caught that or not, but David Sampson, former Marlins president, said if this thing flies through without any of the things that I just mentioned being offered up and shown to everybody, and especially the committee, if that hasn't been done first, his words, not mine, the fix is in. You hate to think about that the Major League Baseball owners in concert would make a decision that is this big of a decision without really having everything that you need. Kind of reminds you of what happened when a billionaire got almost $400 million of public money to build a stadium in Las Vegas. Kind of similar, huh? Not a whole lot of there. Doesn't matter, we'll just vote it in. So the head of the relocation committee, this is a real head scratcher. He's an owner who, kind of like John Fisher of the A's, is threatening to relocate his team. This is the head of the relocation committee. It's the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers. His name is Mark Attanasio, okay? And
there's no one in your contacts named Mark.
There's nobody in my contacts named Mark. Sorry about that.
Which one?
Stop it!
Okay, I won't.
Go away, Siri. See what happens when you start talking smack about the owners? This is exactly what happens. Okay, also on that committee, besides the guy who owns the Brewers who are saying, hey, you know, if you don't give us our money, we're going to move. Besides that guy, it's also the CEO of the Kansas City Royals, John Sherman. And you know what he's trying to do? Not move out of town. In fact, move downtown. But of course, he needs a little public money to make that happen, right? $2 billion downtown Kansas City stadium and village. You know, like the one that John Fisher said he was going to build at Howard Terminal? Yeah. Anyway, he's on the committee, and so is Philadelphia Phillies CEO John Middleton. Okay, those are the three guys that are going to be putting together their recommendations, which they will then hand to Commissioner Manfred, and then I guess at that point we'll get a vote. It's kind of crazy how this all works. So, you know, they're not jaded or anything at all. But for the record, Jeremy Aguero, Commissioner Rob Manfred, it looks to us like you kind of got this thing all set up to jam it through. Kind of like they did when they voted to give all that money away. And that alone really bugs me. And I live in Las Vegas, and you might be saying, well, aren't you excited? Your baseball team's coming to Vegas just like your football team did. No, not under these circumstances. Now, if Las Vegas gets an expansion team, I'm all about that. But I would really like to see the A's stay in Oakland. I think over 55 years worth of history, that's definitely worth something. In fact, it's worth more than something. It's worth a lot. Again, we want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And thanks, Siri, for listening to our show as well. Nice to have her contribute. You know, everybody really ought to be empowered to take care for themselves of their health and of their loved one's health, of course, during the unexpected. And it does happen. I just went through it. Like I told you, we had a rough day. We had a death in the family yesterday. But, you know, the medical cases can come up just with no warning. All of a sudden they're there. And the Jace case, remember that, will provide 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. And they give you the peace of mind. So that way, when it comes around with no warning, you've got access to the medication that can take care of you in an emergency. Oftentimes you can't get a hold of your doctor. It might be the weekend. Maybe you can't get to urgent care. Jace Medical makes sure that you have got the medication right there in hand. And Jace handles everything from the online evaluation, because they obviously want to make sure that, you know, you are telling them what your symptoms are and that they can treat you accordingly. They want to make sure you don't get caught unprepared. You can save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical, plus an additional $20 off. And all you got to do there is use the code. It's locked on. Use that code at checkout at jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. And of course, the promo code, you want to put that in, that is locked in. Well, listen, before we go, I think it's an important thing that we dive into what's going on here baseball-wise. Enough about what's happening off the field. There'll be plenty of time to talk about all that, but the Friars are coming to town, and I don't mean the ones who make your chicken. I'm talking about the San Diego Padres. You know those guys, the ones that were picked to give the Los Angeles Dodgers a dogfight and maybe even win the National League West or even the World Series this year. Remember all that talk in the offseason? Yeah, I do too. Their season has been, to put it mildly, disappointing. Now, not 100 games lost disappointing, we can speak to that, but I don't think anybody expected the A's to win the division. The Padres definitely were a lot of people's favorite team going in. San Diego instead is in fourth place in the division, not first place. They're 20 games behind the Dodgers. They are even trailing the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Francisco Giants, okay? So that's not pretty. So for the Padres, I guess it's really a case of more questions than answers. If you're a Padre fan or even if you're a pundit, my favorite word to say, pundit. I've tried to use it 3 or 4 times today. I'll say it again. If you're a pundit and you're thinking the Padres were going to be all that in a bag of chips, no. So you got questions going into the offseason. Of course you do. 2024, what's going to happen there? Questions like Bob Melvin, their manager, 1 more year on the deal. If you ask Mr. Melvin, he'll tell you he wants to stay in San Diego. But of course, the easiest thing to do in baseball when things don't go well is fire the manager. Just a personal aside, I hope they don't do that to Bo Mel. What about what's on the field? That's kind of important, don't you think? Whose responsibility is it to sort of make sure all the players that you assemble are what you need to be able to win baseball games? Well, that'd be your general manager. That would be your front office. That would be your scouts. That would be, I guess the buck stops with a guy by the name of A.J. Preller. You know who he is. Kind of a riverboat gambler, right? Has not been afraid to spend money wherever money needs to be spent on free agents. The question now is, are they going to be able to, first of all, is his job safe? And then when we get past that, I think he's going to be fine. But do you re-sign your free agents? Well, you certainly ought to if one of them's name is Blake Snell or Josh Hader. Both of those guys are going to be free agents, and the Padres need to decide whether they want to keep them or they don't. And it is kind of looking more like Juan Soto is going to re-sign with the Padres. The latest word is that negotiations have actually begun there. He would like to remain a Padre as well, and I'm sure all the Padre fans would like that. He's a fan favorite, and with a year left, they want to lock him up if they can. And I don't mean like in jail. I'm talking about making sure he's got a nice long-term contract, can be a Padre for as long as possible, because that dude can absolutely play baseball. But I think the biggest question facing the Padres has probably got to be, why have they underperformed at this level? I mean, it's one thing to maybe finish a couple of games, worse than you thought they would. But this is tragic, really. If you're a Padre fan, and I know a couple of them, hello, Kirby, you're disappointed. I know that. I've been hearing what you've been saying about your team all year. Their rank right now, just to show you how bad things are, 15th in the National League in runs scored. What? 23rd in batting average? Are you kidding me? 11th in on-base percentage? And don't even go there with the slugging percentage. They are 16th in the National League in slugging percentage. Now, this is a team, need I remind you, that has Xander Bogaerts. It's got Fernando Tatis Jr., the aforementioned Juan Soto, Manny Machado, a legit Cy Young Award candidate for this year. The dude has just been so good. Blake Snell. And then you have that elite closer, again, going to be a free agent. Both he, Snell, and Josh Hader, their closer. So how are they so bad with all those great players? Answers are needed. If you're living in Padre land, otherwise Bo Mel might be fishing sooner than he wants to be. I think he'd like to finish with the Padres, finish out his contract. And then I know there was talk, even when he was with the A's, about whether or not he'd accomplished everything he needs to accomplish. For what it's worth, I'll just say this. He looked a lot better in green and gold than he does in mustard yellow and whatever that is. Is that bird poop brown? It is, isn't it? I miss him. I do. I love Bob Melvin. I like him a lot. So it's bordering on love anyway. And I wish him nothing but success, except for this weekend, of course. We'll be having none of that. We need the A's to keep winning. And the question is, the Padres fans get to ask questions. What about us? Will the A's stay hot? Will they keep winning? Will they give the Padres a little bit of a beat down? I don't know. But I do know this. We will be locked on A's every single day. That's it for today. Have yourself a great whatever's left of Thursday. Sorry again for being so late today. But we're right back at it again tomorrow. We're going to preview this series in more depth and hopefully get some wins as the Padres come to town. Thanks for being around. Appreciate it big time. Take care and keep on swinging.